Welcome to City Conversations. Today with us we have Cindy Blott, who is the Economic and Community Development Director. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is how her department helps low to moderate income families here across the city of Fayetteville. So Cindy, welcome, and a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
So before we talk about what your department does, tell us a little bit about your background. What brought you here to Fayetteville? Where'd you come before? What other things have you done before taking over as your role here with the city?
So I have been with the city of Fayetteville for a little over 13 months now. Prior to my role here, I was with the city of New Bern, and I did community and economic development in New Bern, and also I was with the college as the Small Business Center director for several years as well. Prior to that, I had been a military spouse, and we lived in a variety of states. But my focus then was in banking, and primarily commercial lending. So I have seen that knowledge of commercial development has really helped significantly in understanding the needs of both the developer and the municipality in reaching its goals.
So you've really come to us with a great set of skills that I think will lend itself towards helping our families here. So that's good.
I hope so.
Let's start with talking about your organization. You've got 12 folks in your department, and
Right.
kind of a big picture. What do they do? And then after that, we'll kind of jump into some of the specific programs that you administer.
So community and economic development covers an array of programs and projects. We are funded by HUD through a program called C2BG, Community Development Block Grant, and the HOME program, which is the Home Investment Partnership Program. They're both grants, again, through HUD. And we run 27 different types of programs. And so how it works is every 5 years we are required to do what's called a consolidated plan. And that is a plan that we submit to HUD that states how we intend to spend the funding over the next 5 years. So it's very comprehensive. We do extensive outreach to the community, and then based on the mandate of the grants, we see what the needs are of our community, and we come up with a consolidated plan for action. And then each year we provide an annual action plan that follows the directive of the consolidated plan. So we are constantly doing and planning throughout that 5-year consolidated time frame.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that you do within those action plans. I know later in the program here, but I think interesting to highlight too that certainly can't call you like the airport or transit an enterprise fund where it's not funded by city taxpayer dollars. But I think a great example that, as you said, you're a federally funded program through grants that really the bulk of your department is not funded by taxpayer dollars.
That's correct. We've got about 3 employees that are general funded, but everybody else within the department and all of the programs are funded through the grants.
Right.
So it's important that we adhere to those mandates set by HUD as far as how the funding can be allocated.
Sure, and that's what I was just thinking. I know we've talked about this before, but a lot of the things you do, they've got set parameters that you've got to follow,
Right.
and really can't go outside those parameters or you end up losing your federal dollars. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, they are mandated, there are rules, and again, that's why we submit an annual action plan, so HUD sees that we are in compliance annually. In addition to the plan, we also have to submit a year-end report. It's called a CAPER report, and they review if we have not stayed true to what our intention was in
Sure.
that, not just the 5-year consolidated, but did we follow through with our annual action plan as
Right.
well.
And so you mentioned 27 programs that your department administers. We're certainly not going to cover all 27 today, but we will cover some of the bigger ones. And so let's start with affordable housing. Again, as we mentioned in the introduction, low to moderate income families is where the focus is for the bulk of what you do within these programs. How does that fit within the affordable housing model?
So affordable housing is based on income, and HUD, our programs, as mandated through HUD, require that we focus on low to mod income, which is 80% of the median income. Now, the determination of affordable housing is based on that income. The a rule of thumb is that nobody should spend over 30% of their income on housing expenses. So to maintain the affordability of it, we assist developers and housing development authorities in the construction of new or rehab housing to keep it under that 30% or at 30% of their take-home to put towards their housing expenses. That includes their rent or mortgage, insurance, utilities, etc. Everything should stay within that 30%. So it's not a lot of money, and the way these programs were developed is to help in the creation of affordable housing.
And so if somebody thinks they qualify, what do they do to figure out how they might find that out?
Right, so it's quite simple. They need to make an appointment with our department, and they come in and have an interview with the administrator of the program, and they get qualified. And we see exactly which programs we can help them. Again, there are a variety of programs, so they're not just set on one way we can help. There's 27 potential ways we can guide them down the right avenue. And if it's not us, perhaps guide them to the correct agency who can help them.
Okay.
So it's simple. They just need to come in, make an appointment, come in and see if they qualify.
And so once they're in this affordable housing, is there a limit as to how long they can stay in that housing, and how does that work?
No, because it's based on income. We always hope that it maintains that 30% of their income. So there is no mandate on when they have to leave or how long they can stay. It quite often becomes their home for quite some time until they're ready to go to the next step, which is hopefully home ownership. The majority of affordable housing is multifamily apartment housing, and that's because the construction of those developments, of course, is much less expensive than a single-family residence. So there are steps, though. We do try and encourage those who are living in an affordable housing to get involved in the programs that we offer with our partners for the next steps in home ownership.
So, and I suppose, though, if their income ever does exceed that ratio, then that does move them out of the qualification for that housing?
It doesn't actually bar them from staying where they're at. The intent would be that they move out, but again, if it's their home and it's been their home, that's really something that the managing company makes a determination.
Okay.
They are, again, most of these programs are funded through government programs and tax credits. So the tax credit mandate on these developments requires a certain percentage always be available for low to moderate income.
And from a numbers perspective, what's the number that we have across the city? Do you know?
We have over 1,300 multifamily units available. And then we also have single family units available, about 160, 70. What's very exciting is we have, of course, 47 new affordable housing units being developed in Oak Ridge Estates off of Bunce Road, and then another 10 units in the B Street area. And those are all habitat projects. But again, we're going to add to the stock of affordable single family and start to allow individuals to build their own wealth through home ownership.
And tell me a little bit about Habitat. I know that's a pretty exciting theory here in the city. I remember being at one of the groundbreaking events not too long ago over on Bunce Road. And talk to me a little bit about that particular project.
So the Bunce Road project was a concept during the Hope 6 years, which has been quite a while ago. The intent was to actually build an affordable housing community with neighbors so people could get to know their neighbors. Quite often it's spot built, and that's good too because we want mixed income communities as well. But this was an opportunity to go and build a large number of homes that were affordable in an area that hadn't seen too many affordable housing units. So again, we partner with what's called a CHODO, which Habitat is a community housing development organization, and we acquired the land and then sold it to Habitat, and we gave some grants, and they also received some additional grants through the state and through the federal agencies, and now they're on the brink of finally breaking ground on the actual construction of the 47 homes.
Okay, well, yeah, it's very exciting. It was certainly a neat thing to be a part of and I look forward to the groundbreaking of the homes themselves.
Yeah.
And what did you say was the total length that'll be done over the next several years?
They have 3 years
Okay.
to complete the project, but they've got an aggressive construction schedule.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see at least 15 houses within the next 12 months.
It's amazing too to see how well built those homes are. I had the opportunity to go in some of them a couple of years ago as part of a program that I was involved with, and to meet with some of the residents. And it really is. It's a special thing that the city is doing.
Absolutely, it's the first step again to home ownership and wealth through that. And we do recommend, if people want to be involved in affordable housing, to volunteer with Habitat. They have a lot of projects coming up, and if anybody is interested, I know Habitat's always looking for extra volunteers.
And from organizations that you work with, you mentioned Habitat, are there other organizations you or the city works with to help ensure that affordable housing continues to be built?
Yeah, so there's 2 levels that we can work with: our home funds and CDBG funds. Again, they're 2 similar programs, but very different at the same time. The home funds we receive require we work with the CHODO. A Habitat Kingdom, CDC is another one that we've worked with. And so they have to be these CHODO organizations. We are doing outreach to get that process known so we can have some more CHODOs who can do even more housing. And what we do with the home funds is leverage what the CHODOs can do. Again, a lot of the work is volunteer, so we give them some funding and they match it and leverage it against other sources. The other piece we do is we work with the developers who have received tax credit projects to keep it, again, affordable to construct, so it's affordable to rent. And so we work in 2 phases, with the developers of multifamily and with the CHODOs of single family.
And from the affordable side, I know that the term public housing is sometimes interchanged, and that's not correct.
No, it's not. You hear about public housing, which is the very low to low mod, or very low to low income individuals, and that's 30 to 50% of the median income. And that's where you find the voucher, Section 8, etc. That is run completely by the Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority. Completely different source of funding with different parameters, rules, regulations. So while we work together in some of our forward planning and thinking, we don't fund them.
So really 2 separate programs.
Very separate, yeah.
In terms of what we do or what your office does to help folks who are in homes get repairs, I know there's some things out there and you've got this emergency home repair program. Share with us a little bit about what that involves. And so when people need to get things done but they can't afford it, how does that work?
Right, so it's an owner-occupied program. They have to own and occupy their home. And it's a case-by-case basis. They come in for an interview and we see what the need is. It could be one source of funding that helps them, or 1 or 2, or again, we bring in a partner agency to help. So, quite often it's roof repair, hot water heater replacement, new ramps and porches. And again, it's a case by case because each house may have a different issue depending on the needs of the
Sure.
resident. So yeah, there are a variety of ways. We also work with our partner agencies. The Nehemiah Project, for example, does some of that urgent repair. So there are a multitude of ways we can assist.
And again, the only way to find out if you are eligible or to figure out how that works is to come in and see your staff.
Correct.
To get all of that moving along. Any difference between homes and trailers in terms of what that repair process consists of? Is a home considered differently than a trailer? So,
Well, again, it's the same parameter of must be owner occupied, but we do repairs on trailers. Those are considered homes as well. The same parameters when we talked about the financial affordable housing, 80%. Those are the parameters that cover these programs as well. So they have to be in that low to mod income
okay.
demographic of 80% of the median household income.
And I think one of the things we're seeing here right on the screen is actually from a mobile home repair, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and you'll see that the extent of repairs can be extreme and some are minor. That's why it is a case by case. The goal is to have a safe home for individuals to live in. So it's case by case.
So that's 2 of your 27 programs. I know another one that you have is the TARP, the Targeted Area Revitalization Program. Tell us about what that means to our community.
So that allows us to identify certain areas where there may be a need for a bit more flexibility in the programs. So for example, one of the objectives of CDBG is the elimination of slum and blight. So we can go into targeted areas where there may not be owner occupancy because the homes are in such blight nobody could live in them. So we offer an acquisition and demolition program where we'll acquire and demo the program or the home or structure, or we will just demolish so that they can retain possession of the property and build perhaps a new home. Or yeah, this is a good example of the removal of slum and blight is often necessary in revitalization. We try and save those homes that have good bones, but some, if there have been fire damage or some other extreme damage, they're beyond repair, so demolition's required. And again, it allows us a little more flexibility. It also puts an emphasis on the city's commitment to a specific area for revitalization. So a great example of that, of course, would be the downtown area, which through years we have seen a solid commitment from the city. A number of businesses have benefited from our programs and residences as well in the surrounding areas to either do facade projects on the business side or give some business loans. Here's our old downtown area. And what you can see is that with this focus from the city and with our resources, you're now seeing the public sector take over. And that's how revitalization should work. The city should make some solid commitments, and then you'll see the public sector take off and run.
Sure.
It's a great example of it.
Downtown area, it's been simply amazing over the last 10,
Right.
15, 20, 30 years. And so we've mentioned the downtown, which we seem to talk about a lot across the city because that's where we are and we see that every day. But there are so many other areas across our city that need work. And tell me a little about other areas that might be targeted.
So there are a number of other areas that are in the targeted revitalization program. The B Street area, of course, is one of importance. Bonnie Doon, Massey Hill, and recently Council determined that they want to put significant focus on Murchison Road. So that's exciting because that, again, could be another catalyst for development up the Murchison Road area that has been neglected for some time.
Sure.
And it gives us flexibility with our dollars to help those, perhaps, units that are not owner-occupied but need a little more assistance.
And back to who determines that again, it's a local determination. It's not federally determined that they have to help us choose areas. Really, they just make sure we're within the guidelines or the parameters they set forth.
Exactly. Because we are what's considered an entitlement city, we get to pick and choose a number of things based on the needs of the community.
You mentioned CDBG. What an acronym.
Yes.
We sometimes mix that up. So Community Development Grant Program. Tell me about how that encompasses all of what you do.
So the Community Development Block Grant, again, it's mandated by HUD, and it's we are an entitlement city, which means we get to come up with our own 5-year consolidated plan and the annual action plan. But it must target low to mod income, removal of slum and blight, or an urgent need. So there's 3 areas we can focus, but all of those still must remain focused on low to mod income areas. So it is a significant portion of our funding that we utilize, again, to not just work the programs that we administer, but also help our partner agencies with some of the programs. I mentioned Nehemiah and Habitat. Those are our partners, so we can leverage our money to the maximum, its maximum potential.
And how does this specifically affect businesses?
So we've got 4 great programs that we offer. There's a business assistance loan program, and that's for the gap funding. If a business has a loan through a bank but needs to fill that gap, this is where the funding can be utilized. And we've done a number of loans that have created jobs, retained jobs. We also have a small business retention program, and this allows a business that may be wanting to expand or needs some improvements and wants to stay in Fayetteville, they can get the retention grant, or they need some upfits. The facade grant, of course, is for the external of a building, signage, a roof, parking, sidewalks on the exterior, anything that would stay with the building is considered facade. So you'll see that we've done a number of projects in the downtown area, and now we hope to expand that outside of the downtown area. And we have a small business development grant program. We also assist with some of the state-funded grants, the JDIG and NC1, which are really focused on those higher-end jobs. There is an allocation given to businesses who can start producing jobs at livable wages with benefits. You tend to see the bigger corporations go after those dollars.
And back to where we've said for every single one of these programs, and we're going to just kind of make sure we hammer this point home, the only way we can find out is to come to you and figure out if we apply. You're not going hunting down people or businesses. Really, they need to come to you because you need to assess their needs, figure out if they're qualified, and then move forward from there.
Right. And again, the need is great. And so we quite often have a number of people who need assistance. And we may not be able to help them with our program because of the income limitations or restrictions, but we can often help them get to where they need to be. We want to be considered the one-stop shop.
Sure.
In community and economic development within the city. So yeah, we would really like people to come and just give us a call if they have questions.
And what's the number they can call you at?
So 433-1590, and all they need to do is ask to speak to somebody to see if they qualify for one of the variety of programs. All of the programs that we administer are on our website. So it's fayetteville.nc.gov/ECD, and it lists all our programs, parameters, guidelines. But we really advise people to give us a call.
Sure, makes sense. And so one of the final areas we'll talk about of your 27 programs really is homelessness. What does the city do to help homelessness or help homeless around the city?
Right, so it's a very comprehensive issue, homelessness. We partner with a number of agencies who are experts in the field, Salvation Army, Operation Inasmuch, and the county. We do have a program in collaboration with the county to help those who are ready to go to the next step out of homelessness or to avoid homelessness, where we assist with some rent and utilities and perhaps some other living expenses. Again, it's a case-by-case. There's an assessment done to see what the need is. And that program that we have collaborated with the county has helped substantially keep people from that desperate spot where they're so close to homelessness. But then those that are already homeless, we partner with the agencies to leverage their funds and leverage our funds, helping. We also have a family reunification process where if they have some family who want them to get home but they can't get home, we will pay to help them get home and be reunified with family who can really help with some of the other issues that homelessness often entails.
And you mentioned the program for utilities and assistance there when they're making that next step up. Talk a little bit about that.
Right, so again, this is a very simple process as well. They have to apply, but we work with our partner agencies who have already been in communication and helped the homeless with some of the opportunities to get out of homelessness. So those who are now ready to either enter an apartment or enter a home can apply for the rental deposit assistance dollars, and which can be substantial depending on one's situation. Then we can give them the deposit money and they can move in without that fear of all of those. And there's quite often multiple deposits that are required to move into an apartment or a home. So that's what that fund is specifically allocated for. We do require that they have gone through some sort of homeless program so that we know that they're ready to succeed.
That sounds like a great benefit for those that are looking to move up out of that stage in their life to something where they're getting somewhat permanent housing.
Right.
So that's good. And again, they've got to come to you to see if they can apply for that and to apply to make sure that everything moves along the way it needs to.
Yes.
So, boy, that's a lot of programs in a short amount of time that we've covered. Maybe we have you get back again someday to talk about the other.
I'd love to come back and talk about some of the other programs that we are expanding upon.
Well, thank you, Cindy, for what you and all of your staff do to help those from the low to moderate income side here within our city, because it's certainly a very important thing that we need to assist our residents with, and we appreciate what you do to help us out. So thank you for helping make our city a better place.
Thanks for having me.